Welcome to Atkins Diet in the Kitchen. My name is, of course, Kent Altena, and this week's episode is in honor of the Wart Capital Group, which purchased Atkins Nutritional Organization back in December of this year. They are also the same ones that happen to own Cinnabon. So one of the things we've been talking about most recently in the Atkins Diet Facebook group is revolution rolls. So I'm going to slightly tweak that recipe and make a Cinnabon-like sweet roll recipe out of it. So come along with me and we'll cook it up. Alright, so I've separated 3 eggs from their 3 egg yolks and 3 egg whites. Now I'm pour the egg whites in my mixer. Set my bowl aside. Alright, to this we're going to add a ½ teaspoon of Cream of Tartar. One of the questions I got asked quite a bit in the Atkins Facebook site is, where do you find Cream of Tartar? You find it in the spice aisle, or the baking aisle in your grocery store. Put my ½ teaspoon in. And one of the reasons you use Cream of Tartar is to help the egg whites beat to a stiff consistency. I'm going to beat this for about 5 to 6 minutes on high, and we'll catch back up then. Okay, one of the other questions I get asked quite often when people watch this recipe is, what do I mean by stiff peaks? And while I showed it in the first recipe, I might not have been as clear as I could have been. This is not a stiff peak. You can see that it's hanging over like that. Show it again. See that peak? It's just falling over. It's not very stiff. We need to beat this probably another 30 seconds to a minute, and I'll show you what a stiff peak looks like in comparison. Alright, so we beat for another about 30 seconds. And let me show you this peaks as they are right now. You can see the peak on this is holding its shape. It's not falling over. It's not dissolving in on itself. And the reason these stiff peaks are important is because without this structure, our rolls will just sink to the bottom, and they'll be more pancake shaped than what we intend them to be. Alright, so we'll put the egg whites aside for a second and start working on our egg yolks. This is, again, like the original recipe. I have 3 ounces of cream cheese at room temperature. To this, I'm going to add 1 drop of Splenda, and just a dash of salt. Alright. I'm going to beat this together. And you want to beat it just long enough that the yolks and the cream cheese dissolve into each other. Alright, up until now the recipe has been largely the same as it was in the original Revolutions roll recipe. Here's where we start differentiating it up. I'm going to fold in the egg whites into the egg yolk mixture, but in addition to folding in the egg whites, I'm going to put a dash of cinnamon in it as well. If you've created your egg whites successfully, there should be no liquid on the bottom of your bowl, mixing bowl. Alright, I'll add about a teaspoon of cinnamon. This is really to taste. And one thing you want to remember, like I said in my original recipe, remember, don't overbeat this. You're not stirring this. You're folding it in together. So you pull it from the bottom and bring it to the top. This should take no more than, say, 10 attempts at folding. to get it completely mixed through each other. Alright, so I have it mixed through each other. You can see that it's completely folded together. I have a parchment lined paper over here. You want to make sure you're using parchment and not wax paper. And what your goal is to build volume when you're dishing out the yolk white mixture onto the parchment paper. So if that requires multiple times, go ahead and do it. I almost compared it to building a snowman in the forum site. My oven is preheated to 300 degrees. Scrape down my bowl for the last little bit of mixture. And you can either make 6 good sized ones or 8 medium sized ones with this recipe. Alright, you can kind of see that they've been layered up on top of each other. I am going to put it in the oven for about 30 minutes and we'll check back up then. One thing we want to do is not bake them perhaps quite as long as you would a regular revolution roll. You still want them to be completely done all the way through, hence the 30 minutes. But like with a regular revolution roll, I might cook it for say 35 or 40 minutes. We pull these out at 30 minutes so that they're still nice and moist. So we'll see you then. Alright, so we're going to catch up on doing the icing for top of the cinnamon roll or sweet roll. So come along with me and we'll make the low carb Cinnabon icing. So first steps first, I have 4 ounces of cream cheese. To that I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of butter or half a stick. And I'm going to cream these together. Alright, I'm going to scrape down the sides. Alright, one thing you might have noticed as you're trying to convert a lot of your older recipes, that it's very difficult to find or impossible to find powdered sweetener. So one of the ways you can do that is powder your own. So I'm taking 4 packets of Truvia and I'm going to run them through my coffee grinder. You could do this with a Ninja or Magic Bullet as well, or however you grind your own flax mill. And you want to just pulse it to break down the crystals. Alright, that should be enough. Give it a good tap. And toss it in. One of the reasons we're using Truvia in this method, or in this recipe, is because it contains erythritol, which works much better to get that shiny Cinnabon icing texture than say just Splenda by itself. So I'm going to add, in addition to that Truvia, 4 drops of Splenda. Which is essentially the equivalent to 1/3 of a cup. To this, I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of vanilla. And a half a teaspoon of lemon juice. I'm going to blend it once again. Alright, so we've blended those two together, and now it's basically the equivalent to frosting, but being that we want to make icing, we need to adjust it a little bit more. I'm going to add a tablespoon of heavy cream, and 2 tablespoons of water. And we'll beat this until smooth. Scrape down our sides one time. And the final ingredient is a half a teaspoon of cinnamon to go with it. Alright, it's done. You can see the finished product is very pourable and icing-like. We'll put this in the fridge for the next 20 minutes while the cinnamon rolls themselves happen to finish up, and you'll see me ice the finished product. I'll see you then. Bye. Alright, so the Cinnabons are almost done. Timer's about ready to go off. You can see that they're pretty tall. That building them like a snowman really helps. So we're gonna glaze one of them now. Take your mixture, pour it over top. And just gently brush it down the sides. Alright. I hope this reaches everyone in great health. I should have another recipe video coming up later this week, and I'll talk to you guys then. Bye.